What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another movie review. I'm Chase Lee, reviewing for DallasMovieScreenings.com, and the movie I want to take a look at right now is Charlie's Angels. Now, this one comes from Sony, and it is directed by Elizabeth Banks, and this one tells the story of Charlie's Angels as they go on a mission to fight some bad guys, save the world, and maybe uncover some double agent activity happening with their division. You guys know how spy movies work. They're all basically the same. And that's basically what this movie is. And the angels that are in this adaptation are played by Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott, and Ella Balinska. If you are unaware of what the Charlie's Angels franchise is, it was based on a TV show way back in the day, way before I was born. And then it was adapted into some movies, and now we get some more adaptations, or another adaptation of this franchise once again. And it tells the story of a trio of female spies, and they use their disguise techniques, their sex appeal, their conniving wisdom, their badass fighting techniques to fight bad guys and save the world doing it. And they're a charming group of women, and it's just a fun group to follow, and it's just a pleasant little action experience. You know, it's nothing more. It's just really good entertainment. And so that's basically what it is. They have a supervisor that's a Bosley, that's the ranking, and that's what the person's called. And Bosley gets the orders from Charlie, and Charlie has his or her voice speak through a speaker to tell the angels what to do. You know, it's I'm sure someone else could describe it better than me, but here we are. So yes, so going into this movie, I gotta be honest with you guys, I didn't really care for the trailers. They seemed a little basic to me, a little flat. They just weren't revving up my interest for this movie. And you're talking to a guy who was born in 1990, so I grew up in the sweet old age right when the Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu adaptations of Charlie's Angels came out. I absolutely love those movies. They're cheesy, they're over the top, and you can just have a blast watching them. And yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Just those movies were influential for a lot of kids my age and that grew up in that time period. So, you know, having another crack at it, I was willing to give it a go, but the trailers were not working. So I walk out of the movie and it's really bland. Like, it's really, really bland. It could have been something. It could have been a nice breezy hour and a half to kind of waste and, you know, just be entertained by, but there was just nothing to it. So let me try to break this down in compartments here, because there's a lot that's not happening and I need to address every single point. So Elizabeth Banks is the director, the writer, producer, and even one of the actors in the movie. This movie rests on her shoulders. So I'm going to kind of go after her a little bit heavier in this review than, you know, like say the actors or whatever, just because there's so much that she's a part of in the making of this film. So let's start with the writing. I think in terms of a basic story, like a basic like spy story with like some misdirects and like, oh, maybe they're going to be the bad guy. Ooh, maybe they're a good guy, bad guy. All that being said, it's fine. It's a fine little story. And it almost kind of reminds me of how I felt about the Men in Black International movie that came out earlier this year. Yeah, do you remember that? Where it had like a similar thing where it was like the story was just fine. It was serviceable. It was just more about the characters and the world surrounding it. So with Charlie's Angels, the story is fine. Oh, the humor. Oh, the humor. Some of the dialogue in this movie is atrocious. And, you know, I had a full theater, packed house. And all the jokes would just be thrown at the screen, right? A lot of, you know, kind of improv, which seems like, or, you know, maybe it was directed to be more aloof with the comedic timing to make it seem like improv. Either way, the humor did not work. It is painfully unfunny. Maybe 5% of the audience laughed at any of the jokes, and most of it was just crickets. Like, it was actually astounding and impressive that something that unfunny could not elicit any response above 10% in the audience. It was that bad. So the humor, fly out the window. The story's fine. The characters are one-dimensional. Now, I'm not asking for these characters to go so in depth and get 3D with their characters. I'm not asking for any of that. But like, these characters are so one-dimensional that we get personalities from all three of them. Kristen Stewart is a bit of a hard ass and she likes to eat a lot. Naomi Scott is smart, a little awkward. And Ella Balinska, she is a former assassin. Like, she's really great at fighting, and she's a little stern with her personality. She's got a lot of gates and walls being put up emotionally. I got that, and she was probably the more interesting character out of the three. But there's nothing more beyond that. We get like maybe one scene where everyone tells their backstory just really quickly, and then that's it. We move on, and it's like, okay, so I don't know. It doesn't really add anything to it. So. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not asking for a lot, but they're kind of just there, and that's not what you want out of these movies. And I think that's it for the writing. There's really nothing more to point out with that. So let's move on to Elizabeth Banks's directing. Let's start with the fight choreography. It's flat. It's visionless. It's the type of, it's medium shot, fast edits. Medium shot, fast edits, maybe another angle, and then medium shot, fast edit. It's just, it gets so boring so fast early on in the movie, and you're like, just give it a little bit of style, give it a little bit of a directorial taste. That's all I'm asking. Because a lot of people, to compare like the Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu ones, they are cheesy as hell, and they are over the top. But you have to admit that McG gave it a vision. That was his vision. That was the choice he went with. It may have worked for some people. It may have not. But overall, it had a style. This does not. It's just boring. It's boring in the action sequences. And you figure out at a bare minimum, that would be the one thing that she might spice up in the movie. But it's not. It's just flat. It's just kind of blah. It goes very well with the story. So yeah, I just think the action set pieces are very unimagined for sure, and then everything else around it, just cinematography wise, visually, it doesn't. Besides maybe a couple of experimental shots that she tried, it doesn't work. It's just flat lines. It's just a competent looking movie, and that's not something you want out of a Charlie's Angels. Like, put a little flair to it, put a little style. Speaking of the comedy, to go back to her directing here for just a second, the way it's edited in the comedy section of the movie, because it doesn't hit at all. It is painfully unfunny. But the way it is edited and the way she chooses to linger on shots and to go back to other people for reaction shots, to go back to the original people, something's off in the edit bay, where it's either 2 seconds too soon or 2 seconds too late. But some of this comedy is edited so awkward that it just makes it worse. And I don't know if that was more of like Elizabeth kind of putting her foot down with some of those cuts, or like the editor did that and it just got by people. I don't know what happened, but definitely some horribly edited comedic timing going on here, and I'll blame that on Elizabeth here. And that's it. There's really nothing more to say about her directing or writing. It's just, it is what it is. It is competent at best. So let's get to some of the acting. I actually think, and here's the funny part, I actually think all three do a great job, because they actually portray their characters the way they're written. And they do it to the best of their ability, even though they're one-dimensional characters. They actually did a good job. I actually liked them in the movie. Here's another kicker to that. I like them in the movie as singular characters, separate from the group. I think Ella Balinska was definitely the best written character and the best performed character. She had the best backstory. I cared about her the most. and her performance sold me. I liked her by herself. I like Kristen Stewart with some of her sarcasm and her personality and the fact that she could turn on a dime and kick your ass. I liked her by herself. Naomi Scott was really smart and she was really conniving towards people, and she was just using her cunning instinct to trick people. I love that about her. And I liked watching her by herself. But the chemistry between all three of them was non-existent. I didn't find them to be adequate as a group whatsoever. It was just like they came together, they did their thing, okay, we're just moving along, and then they would separate. And then I actually liked that part of the movie when they would separate and talk with other people or like do their own thing. It never worked for me as a group. There was no chemistry whatsoever. So maybe I am too harsh on it, and people are gonna look at this and be like, "Oh, what are you talking about? It's fine. They have fine chemistry." I just didn't see it, and I preferred them by themselves, and they were actually written better by themselves. So that's it, guys. There's really nothing more to say. I don't really recommend this movie. I mean, I'm a slightly rank it just below average for me. And if you're wanting to check it out this week, go check it out. But it's not my first choice. It's a one and done situation. I don't want to ever watch this movie again. I would rather watch the ones I grew up with because those at least had some type of voice to it. So I'm going to give Charlie's Angels, the 2019 version, a C-. So there you go. Very uneventful. I'm sorry, guys. So what did you guys think of the movie? Please let me know down below if you loved it, if you hate it. I read all the comments. Tell me I'm wrong, right, whatever. I like reading them and hearing from you guys. So that will do it for this review, guys. I'm Chase Lee, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later.